let's talk about the violence we experienced in local organizing spaces.
Girl, let's talk about it. Shit. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Jasmine Diavalar.
And I'm Anisa Omar.
And this is another episode of Let's Talk About It. Today, we wanted to address some of the things that have been going on over media and kind of just addressing our organizations and kind of the work that we're doing. And KYC, a couple, like last week when I did the rally for Dante Wright, mixed up the organizers who was actually like giving credit to who was actually organizing it, and they were kind of looping different groups together. So I felt like it was time to kind of address what we are about and kind of talk about the different organizations here in Mankato and what they stand for, and how we differ, because that difference is very important as far as how you want to decide how you take part in the movement and who you want to align yourselves with. Right. And one of the things that is very important to me is to not include public safety and not to include police at my protests. As I am protesting against the police, I will therefore not be collaborating with them. Yeah. And it was not fair to have a statement and an article released that we collaborate with them. That article has since been taken down, and no one had contacted me or, reached out to me to ask if we were even, doing a protest or to get a quote from me or to verify information. So I just needed to clear the air, because if my name and face was going to be out there, I needed to be correct information. So if you want, we can try to talk about the different organizations, what we're about and why we're different.
Right. And also to the KYC point, they were giving credit to Indivisible, which is a non-Black led organization.
Exactly.
And so I also think we need to be aware, especially as news media, who exactly is holding the protest, so we don't get those confused. But also to that point, I think you mentioned it's important to know what each organization represents. And for me, my understanding, Indivisible is more political. They do encourage individuals to vote. I believe they're a national organization, but we do have a chapter with the St. Peter and Greater Mankato area. And it is considered a progressive organization, according to their national profile. And then we have the Greater Mankato Diversity Council, which is a bit more educational. I know they do stuff with the school district here. They train public safety, and they also work with businesses. We have a new formed organization, the NAACP. It's fairly new. I don't know what exactly they're currently working on. I think they're still in the starting stages, but they are a part of a local policing coalition group that we will be talking about later on in the video. And I believe, I'm not sure, let me see what other organization I may have missed.
I think that's kind of what we wanted to cover now.
And when you mentioned not having public safety there, I am aware that these organizations, when they do hold demonstrations, they do regularly collaborate with police. Like, they inform them of where they're going to be, of how long they may be there prior to the demonstration. And recently, this past Sunday, they did have an event with partnering with local organizations, and they did say that police would be there to provide safety. And our organization, Stand Up Mankato and Ignite the Youth, we don't feel as though police provide any form of safety, and we do understand how uncomfortable it may be or how triggering it may be to the audience or to the individuals that we're working with in our organizing spaces. And so I think it's damaging to equate safety with police, especially when we're talking about Black life. And so that's just a main difference. And I also think it's damaging to include you in that article saying that you're collaborating with police, because that could also create mistrust with the individuals that you're organizing with and what you stand for and how others perceive you.
Yeah, I'm for abolition of all systems, and some of these organizations do not quite align with those values and those ideologies. So it's very important to make those points very clear that that we are different, and to make sure that who these people are, who's leading these organizations, because although that they do have a lot of national backing behind them, there are very a select few, like public figures that are a part of these and associated with these organizations, and you must be aware of them as we continue to organize and demonstrate in Mankato.
And they have mentioned in the past in a meeting with them that they're looking to reform the system. And as me and Jasmine stated in multiple videos, we are looking to abolish these death-making institutions that allow for state-sanctioned murder of Black and brown individuals over and over again. And the reason why is that behind closed doors, these individuals have made it clear to us that we are not welcomed or that we are not allowed to organize with them. And by that, I mean, this is something that me and Jasmine have been struggling with for almost a year. Following the murder of George Floyd, we got together with what is now known as the Local Policing Coalition of St. Peter and Greater Mankato. After making a particular post, which I will read, me and Jasmine were removed from that organization in a manner that was not respectful, in a manner that did not provide us with care, with compassion, with space to let out all of our emotions. And we've been really sitting on this. And I think this past week, especially on Monday, a lot of you have seen us express that frustration to another local leader here. Let me find the message real quick. This is what I posted on June 24th, which was shortly after Mankato Public Safety posted blurry pictures of Black men. Yesterday, the city of Mankato, Minnesota government, which was their app, posted a picture asking for assistance in identifying Black men in blurry pictures. Many residents of Mankato expressed their concern about posting these unidentifiable pictures. Today, I received a call from the Assistant Director of Public Safety asking me how they can make it better. I let them know the damage has already been made, but what they can do is remove the pictures. He then asked me to educate him on why the pictures should be removed. After explaining to him that tensions are already running high and this post will result in many Black men being racially profiled, he told me he agreed. However, this is causing an amazing dialogue in our community. This really has me questioning our leadership in Mankato. The fact that he was willing to sacrifice the safety and comfortability of Black men in our city to create a dialogue and help educate individuals in our city. I am tired of individuals like this who are okay with utilizing their privilege to sacrifice the safety of so many Black men in Mankato. When we say the whole damn system is guilty as hell, this is exactly what we mean. And in the post that's shown, you can see who the individual is that I'm referring to. I'm refraining from saying his name on this post. That was posted June 24. That evening, I received a Facebook message requesting to meet with me. And I met with the individual that is a part of the Local Policing Coalition. We did not mention her organization in this, but I was then told why I was wrong. I was told that I don't understand how a white mind works. I was told that I would create fear when we work with the Mankato Public Safety Department and how I harmed the group in working towards building or holding police accountable and creating new measures to do so. I was told that I was not Black enough, and by that I mean as a visibly Black Muslim woman, I should not really have a say-so in this and I should just follow along and let others lead, as if these systems are providing me with any grace, as if these systems see me as human, as if these systems will provide me with care or privilege that I do not have or will never attain. Mm-hmm. And then following that, I met with a leader from Indivisible, and I expressed all of my grievances to her. I told her how distraught I was from the conversation that I had with another individual from within our group, the Local Policing Coalition group. And she said that she understood And right after the end of that conversation, she told me that I would be removed from the local policing coalition. And then she then reiterated the same harmful words that were said to me in the prior meeting, how police would be afraid to work with us because of calling them out publicly. And then I was told that my actions have consequences, which to me as a Black woman who was still, the uprisings were still happening, like everything was still going on. We were just trying to come down from that, but seeing that and having a non-Black person again questioning my Blackness has traumatized me in ways that I don't even know how to describe. And then I tried reaching out to local leaders and expressing what has happened to me, and I was shut out by other local leaders, and nothing was done about it. And then I asked, the leader from Indivisible said, this was a decision I did not come with on my own. I asked who it was, and I was told it was another individual from the Greater Mankato Diversity Council and another individual with another organization. So I requested a meeting, and then again, it was the same thing, like a lack of accountability, blaming me for calling out these systems, putting the responsibility on me to build trust with police. And I don't know, I know you were also removed from that, and I would love to give you space to express how you were removed.
Yeah. Basically, obviously the murder of George Floyd kind of activated my role in, organizing. I kind of just threw myself in there. What I saw here in Mankato was non-Black leaders trying to put together protests in honor of him. And I felt that that was not respectful of the community, and I needed to see representation of myself in the movement. And so I said, why not me? My friends encouraged me to speak out, host your own protest, a vigil, anything. If you want, I will support you. And so that's what got me out into the public. I didn't necessarily choose, to be a leader. It just kind of happened. And then, obviously I had no experience in doing any of that. I was, when people came to me as like other organizers and other leaders of the community who have been here longer than I have and has done some work here, to tell me, here's how I can help you. We have resources. We have all these things. Let me help mentor you. And I thought that that's what was going to happen. And in turn, meetings that I helped co-lead and meetings that I wanted to have to address policing in our community and what that looks like. What do we mean when we talk about defund versus abolition? And those were conversations I wanted to have with the community. Those were ideas that I was bringing to the table. And to see Indivisible come in and be part of these conversations, to see other people come in and be observers of these conversations and then take the information and run with it, and then, sweeten me up with scones and coffee to then tell me that this isn't necessarily my place, or, I'm not experienced enough to be a part of this, yet I brought these ideas to the table. And so in that moment, I was definitely naive. I didn't know what was happening. I was just like, oh, okay, I guess, yeah, you guys do have all these, the fundings, the means, and, the people to reach out to make something like this happen. But I would have loved to have been a part about it.
They told me too. They're like, we'll worry about the logistics and we'll handle all of that.
Yeah, they literally said those exact words to me. And in my head, I was like, I'm one person. I don't know how I can do this by myself. And it was basically just like, focus on using your emotional labor out on the streets, and we'll take care of your work and we'll do it on the, on the side. And we were just pushed out from the very beginning. And it was just like discouraging. It was obviously traumatizing for you and for me to see you go through it, because it's just like the same old song. We've talked about this all last summer about letting Black women lead, and the young people are the future. Let them lead. They have some solution. Let's bring all different perspectives to the table to this solution, instead of the same old 20-year-old false
reforms,
the progressiveness, and that clearly has not worked. And so we're coming into the picture as fresh, passionate, smart, intelligent Black women with degrees. Mm-hmm. We have experience. We have our lived experience. And then to have that basically not matter to them and to just be like, oh, well, that's simply not enough.
Of it. I really want to highlight how disposable we were as Black women in this organizing space, and how we have internalized this for almost a year. This happened in June of 2020. It is now April 2021. And we've been quiet. We've been wrestling with one another in private, trying to heal one another. Like, we're trying to provide each other space to vent. Mm-hmm. And then people say, why don't you, we reached out to other local organizations. Like, I know I spoke to the executive director of the YWCA. I spoke to the MNSU African Americans director. Like, I've spoke to Sabrina from Cato. Like, I went to individuals expressing this pain that I've had.
Mm-hmm. And so now you see that there is context to the way that, obviously we saw on the Mankato Area Public Schools web or Facebook page that they released a statement on social justice and racial justice, talking about Dante Wright's passing. And it just felt like a slap in the face for obvious reasons, because you and Ignite the Youth were trying to remove police officers from schools, and your experience was extremely traumatizing and dismissing.
And I highlighted that on the comments. Like, I was in bed Sunday evening when I saw that post, and I was like, you have to be kidding me. Mm-hmm. Like, this has got to be a joke. Yeah. How dare you talk about racial justice when you spent months violently harming young Black and brown organizers? And the school district did that. Mm-hmm. They made it be known. They made this process so difficult and so harmful for us. Mm-hmm. They made us susceptible to more community violence. Mm-hmm. And to post racial justice after the harm you did for young Black and brown individuals. And so that's when I decided, I believe it was that same evening, Sunday evening, I made a Facebook post, and I made a call to action on to individuals that are on my Facebook. I was like, call the school district out, leave a comment. And another point I wanna, it's an important point that I wanna make, is after we went our separate ways with the local policing coalition, I told them specifically, you do what you have to do, I'll do what I have to do, we can stay in separate lanes, let's just keep it separate. Mm-hmm. However, members of that policing coalition worked hard to undermine our organizing efforts to remove police from schools. And that's when I was becoming frustrated, but I was still silent. I was upset, but I was still silent. And then you make a comment in defense of the same school system who was violent towards young Black and brown organizers. And that is when I said enough is enough, and I called this individual out. Because I've been sitting on this for almost a year. Mm-hmm. And this individual has been harmful. And so I called them out, and I also know that you participated and you called them out because they were framing it as an SRO issue. But my call to action was let it be known that we've seen what you did when students are organizing to remove school resource officers from school. And of course, as an organization that, to be quite honest with the public, they receive funding from the Mankato Area Public Safety Department, and they receive funding from ISD 77. They may no longer be with that organization, but they do receive financial assistance from these two institutions. So of course you're going to be adamant and come to the defense of those institutions, because for so long, your organization depended on that. And maybe not wholly, but it did receive stuff from those institutions. And so that's why I was also upset, because you can't say in defense of Black individuals and throw two young Black women under the bus.
Continuously.
Over. Like, it was articles penned about us. They wrote articles about us following private conversations we've had, and we've been silent about that. And then when you call them out, because we did so publicly, they knew it was more than that post, but they were playing as if it's like, why can't I just disagree? It's not about disagreeing. We called you out on the violent stuff you did for months. Mm-hmm. And they knew that, but they were playing to the public as if this is just a one-time thing, and framed it as if we were angry Black women, mm-hmm. and then acts as if they did not set that stage up for it.
They threw the first rock, and they thought that
we weren't going to respond.
We weren't going to see it.
We haven't responded since June of 2020. We've been quiet. I chose truth that day. I really did.
And we needed to speak our truth, and that's why we wanted to come on here today to set the record straight that this person threw the first rock. You can go to the thread and read it yourself. Just even in the interaction that we had, regardless of context that you now have, he was violent towards women, and that needs to be addressed, and that needs to be called out. Misogyny needs to be called out.
Xenophobia from this individual specifically needs to be called out. And I said it to other community leaders, but they chose to ignore it. I said the xenophobic comments that they made to me behind closed doors about being a Black Muslim woman in this movement, and other organizational leaders decided to ignore it, and that's on them. And I internalized it, and I made it seem as if it was on me, mm-hmm. as if I was to blame for receiving it from a well-known leader who has access to power, who is a Black man who can use his patriarchy mm-hmm. against us in ways as young Black women we have no access to.
None.
We don't have access to the resources he has, and he's well aware of that. And for so long, the community has been silent about that. Mm-hmm. And we tried to call attention to it, and they've been quiet. They left us out on our own. Mm-hmm. And now it's enough.
It's done. It's done. You know, like, we aren't going to be that token Black person for this town.
We refuse.
That is not me, honey.
I will not sell out my community for my own individual gain. And if you choose to do so, if you have insecurities because you choose to do so, I encourage you to look within yourself and stop pointing it at two young Black women and deal with your own demons that you have, sir, because I've had enough.
Go ahead and protect your paycheck, boo, because...
Do what you have to do, but do not undermine the organizing we're doing.
Stand in your truth. Stand in your truth, because I've always stood in mine. Mm. So, I'm done.
And we don't need to hide behind anything.
I don't.
Because we have nothing.
What do I need to be accountable for? Please tell me. Please tell me.
So that's why I want it to be known. That's why a lot of individuals were coming to me asking why it was done publicly. It's because we've had private conversations with this man, and they were harmful. And we've been silent about it, and we just had enough.
It's the last straw.
It really is.
And also, whether or not it was public or not, however we addressed it, we don't need people to tone police us and tell us how we need to express our anger.
Right.
We constantly, as Black women, you don't want to be too angry. You don't want to express yourself. We don't get that allowance, ever. Mm. So when we do have the opportunity, and we've said enough is enough, now you want to say that, oh, it shouldn't be public, it shouldn't be on social media, we need to move this?
Can I talk about that? Mm-hmm. So to let you all aware, in that comment thread with the Mankato area public school system, this individual made a comment in the comment section about what transpired between the three of us. Mm-hmm. And this individual said, let me clear up some probable misconceptions regarding some public dialogue that took place today in the comments of a recent MAPS Facebook post. The movement requires us to engage in the difficult and direct dialogue that has played out in the comment thread of the post. We must sharpen our ideas and ideologies. This occurs through vigorous debate. This is a complex and deep-rooted issue. There is no one way for this work. There are many ways for this work. My sisters Jasmine and Anisa and I disagree on some approaches to this work. We don't disagree on the desired outcome of liberation for Black and brown folks and all people who have been marginalized and oppressed. We disagree on some of the ways to get there. This is not new in the Black struggle. This is a historical dilemma, yet one that continues to assist us in gaining more pragmatic and profound insights to achieve our work. I know folks will try to pit us against each other as adversaries or whatever, And that is not the case. They are not my adversaries. It is all of us against racism. Know that we all want freedom. Freedom for all ain't easy and requires such conversations as played out publicly today. Should it have played out privately? Yes, it didn't though. And this is the post that he originally put in the comment section of the MAPS Facebook page. And me and Jasmine asked this man to remove our names from this. The reason we requested that is because he was trying to control the narrative. He was making it seem as if we were just disagreeing on the issues of SROs or whatever the school needs to do. But our issues are with this man personally and the harms that he has inflicted upon us since June of last year. And he knew that, but he was trying to frame it to the public as if it was a simple disagreement about SROs. No, this is about the consistent harm you have caused us, the violence you have inflicted upon us time and time again as we were organizing. And then to state we're working towards the same thing, we honestly are not. Because as you stated, you're working to reform these institutions. And as me and Jasmine stated from the get-go, we are working to abolish these institutions. We don't want this to exist. So to frame it as if we're all working towards the same thing, I think is a bit misleading, because I think it's just a bit misleading because we aren't really working towards the same
We don't
thing.
go together. And
we asked him, he then posted it on his own Facebook page and made us susceptible to even more violence and how dehumanizing it is that we've asked multiple times in that comment section to remove our names, and he refused. He didn't even dignify our request with a response, yet he let his friends list allow to come after us, to question if he's being violent or not, to question Black women and their pain. And the reason I keep emphasizing Black women is because in organizing spaces and in movement spaces, Black women are often disregarded and put to the side. We aren't really even seen as human within our own organizing spaces that are Black-led. And I have a video that I would love for you all to watch, and I'm going to cue that up right now.
But just, you know, how misogyny works, especially in community and especially in learning community. And Deshawn and Zalika, y'all probably can definitely relate to this, but it's like, when you are a queer person, when you are a woman, when you are femme, you know, anything other than cishet man, there's a certain unspoken decorum that goes in like a lot of Black-led organizing spaces that are, you know, it may be focused on community, but that hierarchy of patriarchy is just like shoved down your throat. And it's like, you know, young folks, women, queer folks don't really have a say so. They don't really get the opportunity to facilitate a space in a way that's affirming for us. And then whatever points we make, it's always up for critique in a way that, you know, it's not for the man or the more masculinist individual. And in a lot of ways that holds back a lot of the work that needs to be pushed, because it's like, then it's on us, the folks who do get harassed and triggered, to then do the other work of bringing the masculine folks and the men to heal, sit down. This is how you're harmful. Are you going to take accountability for that? Are we going to make sure this doesn't happen again? And, you know, it's a cycle that perpetuates.
That amazing video sums up our experience organizing here in Mankato, I truly believe. And for those asking why not privately, as we said earlier, we tried. This individual is refusing accountability. He's really good at turning it back on us. He's really good at playing the victim in the situation. But I want everybody to be aware that this individual has way more power in this community, both political and social power, that we as young Black women do not have. And the way he's utilizing that power is harmful. And we've also seen this happen earlier this week in Brooklyn Center with the 10K Foundation. And I want this to be known. I've seen people say, why are you speaking out? It's going to divide the movement. But within movements, we need a struggle. Within movements, we need to address patriarchy, misogyny,
xenophobia,
homophobia within Black organizing movement spaces.
Me as a Black queer woman, my experience is way different than yours as a cishet Black man. And you need to know that and understand that and take some classes in intersectionality, because for, you know, people like the 10K Foundation saying that Black men are going to lead the movement, and that Black women and whatever they identify as need to take a seat back, when we are fighting for your very life, but we don't get the same courtesy.
It's often Black queer individuals who are organizing these movements at the forefront over and over and over again.
Exactly. Because our liberation ensures yours. And we don't talk about how often Black trans people are killed more than Black men.
Right. They don't even get a protest.
Nothing. And there's not even, Black people don't even want to acknowledge those people.
Right.
Acknowledge those deaths. Tony Dale.
Right.
He was a trans man that died last year around the same time as everybody. Breonna Taylor didn't even get justice. So don't miss me with that. Please, because no, you're not about to do that. And it was clear misogyny. I'm not.
And then they frame it as if they're for Black women while throwing us to the wolves, while tearing us down over and over again. And so I just want the public to be aware of the violence that was inflicted upon us at the hands of this individual.
And we shouldn't have to explain ourselves.
At all. And I hate the fact that we had to. Like, we've been in spaces where we were questioned when we try to report this over and over again. And so all I want to say to you is that this is an individual who has been throughout this entire summer branding himself to get to higher places, and we've seen that. Who, when you question what he's doing, he pulls out, I've been doing this for so-and-so years, trying to tame us, trying to put us down. But I have been here my entire life. I was born and raised here. He didn't even go through that school system. I went through that. And for him to try to discount that and then say he wasn't, it's like, I don't even know how else to bring it down to just violent. It's violent, period. And of course, I understand you have to do what you have to do to survive, but do not put other individuals down.
Please leave my name out your mouth. Please.
Seriously.
And we've asked this multiple times, and for the post to still be up, for people to still be making comments.
People to still be making comments coming after us.
And you pulled first of all, you pulled the comment out of the context that it was in. So now people don't even have the context of the conversation to see what's going on. So we needed to provide the context, because you're not about to just throw us on to your Facebook post so that people can just come and attack us.
We had white people coming in there attacking us.
And that's not your place.
And Black men. I'm like, y'all really need to look up and dissect patriarchy and the white supremacy ingrained in your minds before you project your insecurities onto two young black women.
Read a book.
Please. And if you need a few books that you want to read, honestly, I'm providing my services. I really am willing to help you with that. But that's something we've been holding on to since June. We've tried accountability with these individuals, and they simply are not willing to give us that. They're not willing to admit that what they did to us and the way they handled us without care, without grace, is violent, and it's aiding in our slow deaths. And that's all that we wanted to say our piece here and let you all know what you've been struggling with for quite some time, and to provide as much context and as much history as we could possibly provide. So thank you all so much for providing us with this space to do so. And now that we've discussed our experience here in Mankato, we do want to try one last time to hold these individuals accountable, these organizations accountable, and for us, what accountability means and what accountability looks like in this situation is a public statement from these organizations acknowledging the way in which they removed us was harmful and violent from the local policing coalition group. The way in which they handled us after was violent, and steps that they will take as organizations to ensure that Black women don't face misogyny, especially young Black women in this organization, face the harm that they did.
Like, what work are you going to do now to uplift our voices instead of silence us? Instead of trying to shun us out, bring us to the table? You know, we shouldn't be reaching our hands out to the table. That should not be our jobs. That should not be our jobs. And as grown adults, as y'all claim to be, make it known, acknowledge it, stand in your truth, and that's it. You know, like if we're grown enough as 20-some-year-olds, because our experience is so minuscule to you, say something then. You know, like what? And then we can, if that means that we can try to reconcile, I don't even want to reconcile actually. I would prefer to just kind of keep our lanes separate as they have been, but to keep my name out your mouth. That's where I'm at.
And for the folks watching, we also want to provide you all with resources and articles to read that talk about misogyny that Black women face, the sexism that they face in organizing spaces.
The homophobia.
The homophobia and all of that. And I think the more we educate ourselves, the more we'll be willing to call these individuals out when they do commit such harm.
We'll have those like links listed in the description.
Box. I don't know why I
we also wanted to end it with our segment, Open Your Purse.
Show me the money.
We need to have a little like cha-ching, cha-ching, like something like little money bag. Like, so we have a couple cash apps we wanted to include, right?
Yes.
So one of them was there's a supply drive for houseless individuals up in the Minneapolis area. We're gonna have it typed out as well, but I will also say it out loud. So it's $BRUVSHARIF. And then the second one is $IFRAHALIX. I also have another individual that I know personally, and as I've been doing my work and dropping off supplies in Brooklyn Center, she lives in the apartment building right across the street from Brooklyn Center PD, and they are looking to relocate her and her family. She is taking care of her toddler and also two autistic children, and she doesn't feel safe as a protest, and the military that was sicked on them is damaging, you know, their property, endangering their livelihoods. So her Cash App is, let me get that loaded up here. Her Cash App is $jamiyacrayton. JAMIYACRAYTON, and she also has a GoFundMe link that I will be including as well. Please open your purse to these individuals and help your community. This is one of the easiest ways to, you know, help out your community when they're in need, especially because we do not, you know, obviously get care from the government institutions that we pay them to. Right. So.
And I know in a prior episode we said we want to focus more on Black joy, but I think this conversation was necessary. And
we can't have Black joy if we're being traumatized by our own.
Yeah.
So
thank you all for joining this week.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time. Later.